really simple neck stretches to sort of mitigate the stress of, again, sedentary posture, these muscles being brought forward just by being seated for hours and hours a day, week after week. The muscles up here, known as the traps, have a tendency to get really tight in these positions. So really simple neck stretch I would have clients do is I'd have them bring their feet together, drop one ear towards the shoulder. On the same side they drop that ear towards it, have that hand put on top of the head, like so. Other hand is going to rest in the small of the back. Sort of put this shoulder in internal rotation and just already allow this muscle to start stretching. What I have people typically do is just allow gravity and the weight of the arm to pull the head down. We're not trying to force anything, just relaxing right here. I would have them inhale and come up, exhale and go down. Something like this. And exhale. Truly just trying to relax into this position. You don't want to force anything here. And typically when we prescribe it, I say about 10 breaths per side, and have them do this once or twice a day. Again, I find that it really, one, is relaxing. It has a tendency, again, to mitigate the stresses of that sedentary posture, that forward posture, and the muscles that have a tendency to get tight. So one of the first things I want to look over is just a standard bridge. I think this exercise is actually done frequently, but often done incorrectly. So one of the things that I would focus on when I'm doing this, when I'm on the ground like so, 6 to 8 inches in between your feet on the ground is absolutely fine. You're going to lay back just like this. What I see people do is they'll come up, push their hips towards the ceiling, and come up just like that. And that might seem appropriate. What we do here, we're looking at getting a neutral pelvic posture. So we flatten the low back into the floor. Core is nice and tight here. Spine is in a neutral position. And then from here, we cue our clients to grip the ground with their feet, just a subtle visual cue, and then bridge up towards the ceiling. Tucking that pelvis, what that does is it actually takes away the lumbar erector muscles, which have a tendency to get really tight anyway, and put most of the stress on the glutes, which is what they're meant for. The next thing I want to walk over is called hip CARS. CARS is an acronym for Controlled Articular Rotations. You don't really need to remember that, but I would have you start over, just like stabilize yourself with one hand. And again, like Josh talked about back in his office, most low back pain that we see in here, like 8 to 9 times out of 10, stems from lack of mobility in the hips. So the stress is not evenly distributed throughout the body. I mean, with every step, the stress is not distributed properly, and it has to go somewhere. So oftentimes it goes to the back. But anyway, as I was saying, I would have you stabilize on something, just keep yourself upright, and we're going to work with the right hip right now. We're going to bring it up into flexion, like so, out into external rotation. And here's the tricky part, I want you to internally rotate it from here. You can internally rotate it to the best of your ability right there. And you're going to kind of scoop it and circle it through. So again, we're just trying to work the joint through a full range of motion. Again, something like this, up into flexion, out into external rotation, internally rotate it here, and bring it through. None of this movement should be passive. You really should fight for that in range of motion. And again, we're just trying to get joint articular health here. And again, we call couch stretch. What I'll do here, and I'll actually do it against just a post, flat up and down like that. Maybe put a towel or a pillow under your knee here. And assume sort of an all fours position. Bring whichever leg you're trying to stretch right up against that post or wall, wherever you have to work with. Just flat up and down, toes are pointed towards the ceiling. And bring the other leg up like so. Now, sort of ease into this because it can be pretty difficult initially. You're eventually going to try to come up like this, and what this is doing is really getting a deep stretch for these hip flexor muscles, the muscles that operate to bring your leg closer towards your chest. Think of sedentary posture, like the hip flexors have a tendency to get really tight if you're in, a seated position for 6 to 8 hours a day. Those habitual movement patterns are what we're trying to get after here. And like Josh was talking about, tight hip flexors or lack of mobility or strength in the hips lead to a lot of back pain. So this is called cow stretch again. What I'd have you do is eventually progress coming up to bringing your hip or your glute towards your heel. Anywhere from 2 rounds of 45 seconds to 2 rounds of 2 minutes each. Just to slowly begin to chip away at those habitual movement patterns or maladaptive patterns in the body.